So this is definitely happy days whenever Nintendo tries to file for a patent and they get rejected. That's, I think, always going to be a good thing when companies file patents regarding or relating to any form of, how would I say this, like game mechanics in any way, shape, or form. If they get denied, that's probably for the better, so that more people can use those same types of patents, or not the same type of mechanic that is trying to be patented. But basically, the Japanese Patent Office officials reject one of Nintendo's 3 patents that they have, Pokemon patent applications, for being too similar to Ark, Monster Hunter, and Pokemon Go, funnily enough. Basically, this is the patent regarding, I think it was the monster catching element? Give me a second. So, a trio of patents asserted by Nintendo as for the basis of its ongoing lawsuit against Palworld developer Pocket Pair represents only a portion of Nintendo's efforts to secure patent protections on creature capturing, battling, and riding mechanics. Let's see. They did the one. Which one did they do? I think it looks like it's the patent catching one. The patent application in question, JP 2024-031879, isn't directly relevant to the Palworld lawsuit. It's related to patents that are its child application to one of the patents asserted. Rejection for Pocket Pair rhetorical similarities to. The rejected patent application describes the implementation of mechanics for aiming and throwing items to capture or battle creatures like those used in 2023's Pokemon Legends Arceus. For a patent to be granted, the application's claim must demonstrate an innovative, unique enough from prior art in its field to merit its protection. And I think when it says Monster Hunter, it's referring to Monster Hunter 4 and possibly the Stories games. And of course, Pokemon Go does use, ball throwing, catching mechanics for games as well. And obviously, that's not developed by Nintendo, but it is published by them to some extent. Or maybe Niantic publishes itself. I can't remember, but it's funny how Pokemon Go happens to be kind of in that area. In the rejected application, Nintendo claims that the Legends Arceus mechanics constitute a novel invention by combining third-person aiming with 2 modes to throw items that either affect a target character, like stunning it or capturing it, or initiate combat against the target creature by releasing a creature to battle it. The JPO examiner disagreed because somebody bought receipts. In its rejection notice, the Patent Office said that it considered a third-party submission which showed that similar aiming and projectile mechanics existed in games that predated the 2024 application. Among the prior art cited are creature battling systems and status inflicting projectiles in Ark, the Trank Bomb, throwing in Monster Hunter, monster catching in Pocket Pair's Craftopia, funny, haha, and even the Pokeball aiming reticle in Nintendo's own Pokemon Go. In a machine-translated translation of the rejection notice, the JPO said it refused the claims of the application because it could have easily been made by persons who have common knowledge in the technical field to which the claimed invention pertains, as demonstrated by these prior games. So that's a bit of a egg on Nintendo's face, and honestly, that's good. Now the issue then falls on, what about the other 2 patents? Are they going to be granted to Nintendo? Or are the JPO going to be able to reject those as well with reasonable doubt that they're not new inventions? Like the riding mechanic, for example, which has been in games for ages. It's worth noting that the JPO examiner's decision is not final, and Nintendo has the ability to pursue an appeal with Japan's Intellectual Property High Court, which would be another lengthy process in and of itself. But while the refusal of the application doesn't directly affect the odds of the Palworld lawsuit, it could give Pocket Pair more space to question the validity of the other patents being asserted. And that's true, because basically by this being rejected in some way, it shows that there is weakness in the argument that is being brought forward by Nintendo. Games Theory notes that the presiding judges in patent lawsuit tend to weigh the decision of JPO patent examiners in their deliberation. So that's going to be part of the argument that's going to be presented, which is going to be very funny to see how that plays out. Additionally, Pocket Pair has access to mechanisms similar to a request for a judicial notice in US law, which would allow it to formally request that the presiding judge consider JPO's refusal of the application while assessing the validity of the lawsuit's patent. So, say for example, if like a lawsuit were to be made in the US, they could follow similarly what's happening in Japan in some ways, which is interesting to think about because I didn't think international law would affect US law in that way, but that's interesting to see. Meanwhile, considering the bold mods don't count as real game stance, Nintendo just assumed just last month, it's safe to assume that it will be investigating every possible angle for shoring up its validity, which I'm pretty damn sure it's going to do that. But what's funny is that they don't actually count mods as like original material or full games that can count as like possible, copyrightable material in that sense, which was a really funny one to look at because they're still more than happy to go after mods all the same. It really does feel like. So it's just kind of interesting to kind of see how all of that is gonna land, I suppose, in their court. So basically, between the whole thing that's happening between Nintendo and Pocket Pair, i.e. the Pokemon versus Power World debate, it seems like Nintendo/Pokemon have suffered a loss in this sense. It's not necessarily a loss, but a shot in the knee, and so as a result, it's now caused some level of weakness in their arguments. So now it's just going to be a matter of time to see, will things shake up the way that Nintendo intends it for, or is this going to cause a potentially fatal blow later on down the line, where if they do choose to go down the high court and try and appeal the decision that was originally made. Again, we won't know the fruits of the deliberation until further along down the line, and as we all know, law takes forever to kind of do its thing. So with all of that being said though, I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this. What do you guys reckon, just from already an immediate face perspective of it got rejected, but also part of the reason of why do you think it did get rejected? Not why, but rather how do you think things are gonna end up at the end of it all? I'll be curious to hear what you guys have to say about this in the comments below. But with all that being said, like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by the end of the year, and with all that being said, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.